welcome to the Karen Mitches podcast. Today we have Shanil Patel.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. How's it going?
It's going well, yeah. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Enjoying my Saturday.
Yeah. I woke up very recently, so I've been enjoying it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you usually someone who sleeps in?
Yeah, on the weekends for sure.
I was kind of expecting you to be like an early morning, like doing shit person.
No, not at all. I'm a night person by far.
Yeah.
My wife is. She'll get up early and then she'll do everything around the house. And then late at night I'll do not much, but I'll like
You just wake up like a little prince.
honestly, I wake up every morning I wake up and she's already woken up, she's fed the dog and she's got my coffee beside the bed. And it's cold, and then she's just waiting outside impatiently for me to wake up and start doing shit. It's a pretty good setup, yeah.
What's the dog's name?
Bam.
After Bam Margera?
No, so we adopted her, or we rescued her from Mexico, and the people that picked her up from where she was living in Mexico, she was living in this place called Ekbalam in the Yucatan, and so they called her Balami. They're Germans. I don't think they heard how that sounded in English.
Balami?
Balami, yeah. And then when she was moved to St. Catherine's, the Humane Society there, they changed her name to Bam, and then we just said, okay, we can't change it again.
Yeah. Bam is really cute, though.
It's a cute name, yeah.
What kind of dog is she?
She's an American village dog.
What?
She's basically
is that made up?
A mongrel. We did a DNA test
Is
on
she
her.
a little guy?
Yeah, she's like 20 pounds.
Like this?
Like pretty long.
Like
and
a
lean.
long
Yeah, she kind
lapdog.
of looks like a whippet.
Very cool.
Yeah, she's fun.
So you're the first person here to test the weed drinks. So you have to tell me.
It's good so far. If I start trailing off in a bit, you'll know why. But it is good. It's got a good taste, good flavor. Not too bubbly.
Okay.
Which is nice. Fairly low calorie. I like it. It took forever to open it. It took two of us to open it.
The childproof lock was a lot for the two of us.
It was a huge barrier to this drink. It was a lot to deal with, but I felt bad because I was struggling with it for like 10 minutes while you were setting everything up. And then you're like, can I try? I'm like, okay, yeah, good luck. And immediately just rip it off. I'm like, maybe I am a child, yeah.
But you're also a practicing lawyer.
Yes, I am.
Which, is that common within the comedy scene?
I know of one other one, Jeevan. I don't think he's practicing anymore. And RC, I think he is practicing. Okay. I don't know his last name, but they're both Indian guys.
Are you guys like a posse?
No.
No. Do you guys hate each other?
No, I don't. Maybe they... Yeah, we kind of do, actually, yeah. Like, there's only room for one of us. We're all Indians, too, so kind of like... We're all brown guys, so it's kind of all the same sort of vibe.
So when I was growing up, my lawyer uncle had a lot of, like, lawyer jokes.
Uh-huh.
Do people still have lawyer jokes?
Not that I hear of.
But maybe because people don't have as many, like, jokes.
Yeah, people just don't tell, like, one-liner jokes much these days.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, what do you call a lawyer that... Or what do you call a something that anything... It's just not going around.
Every now and then, people will come out with them. But I was just,
You don't have any lawyer friends who tell lawyer jokes?
No. They're not...
That's not
They're
cool
not funny.
anymore. It was all the rage back in the 80s.
Yeah. And all the, like, professions jokes were things back then, right?
Yeah, for sure. A lot of jokes were just like, what group are you?
Yeah. Yeah, I got a joke about that, yeah.
But, like, okay, so when you see those guys around, it's just like, are you worried they're going to steal some of your material just from having the same...
No, I don't really talk about being a lawyer much on stage. It's just not... I don't think it's funny. There's not much funny about it. I've tried, and it just hasn't worked, so I just kind of avoid it. And for the most part, when I talk with those folks, I've talked with them for a bunch of times before they mention that they're lawyers. And I'm like, oh, me too. And then have a slight small talk about whatever practices are, and then we're like, okay, that's all we need to discuss. Yeah. We don't do comedy to talk about law more. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
You do it to avoid that.
If you were loving that job that much, you wouldn't be doing comedy.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. If I was getting what I needed out of law, I probably wouldn't be doing this.
Is it a job in any way that you're like, oh, what did I get? I feel like you work really hard to get into it, but then is there a bit of like, is this it?
Yeah, so you work your ass off to get into law school, and then you work your ass off again in law school to get a job, and then you get the job and you're really happy about it, and then you start working, and then you work your ass off to become a lawyer after your articling year, and then you become a lawyer, and then you're a couple months in, and you're like, oh, fuck, this really sucks. This is awful. This is just what it's going to be like for the rest of your life. I mean, there are great parts of it. The beginning's really tough because you're just learning really, really fast, and it's a tough learning curve.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was an adjustment for sure. Because you're a student for so long, and you kind of get used to it, right? There's
Yeah.
no stakes. I mean, other than your grades, no one's life depends on you, and then you get into a situation where now you have real shit to do, and it kind of sucks.
And your wife is also a lawyer?
Yeah, she is. Different area of practice. She's a solicitor, so she works on she's basically a corporate lawyer for charities,
Okay.
and so she'll do their articles and bylaws and annual general meetings and stuff.
That sounds good.
It's yeah, she likes it. It's just a lot of attention to detail type work
Yeah.
and making sure things look right and dealing with clients. She's really good at it.
And then your area,
I'm a mental health lawyer primarily.
so what does that mean?
Typically, I represent people whose their capacity to either manage their finances or to make their own healthcare decisions is in question, and so then they will challenge the finding of incapacity, and they get a lawyer for that.
So is that like, could you have defended Britney Spears?
Yeah, yeah, that's actually a similar type of case. In America, it's called something conservatorship. Here, it's called guardianship,
Okay.
and so it's kind of what I do.
So did you follow the Britney drama that was going on?
Loosely, I took a slight interest in it just because it kind of overlaps with what I
Yeah.
do. But I know she got out of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
She's
and
free now.
she's free now, and she's playing with knives.
Yeah.
She's just juggling knives and making home videos, which is fine. You
So
know,
is that
it's,
your goal? Like, I want to get this woman liberated so she can get onto juggling knives.
yep, that's exactly what I do sometimes.
Is that like an ongoing fear where you're like do you think of like do you take a case or not take a case or you just take every case?
I take every case at this point.
So you're not there to judge, you're just there to win.
No, my job is what my client wants. That's it.
And is that scary?
No, I mean, yeah, there's times where most of the time in the area of law I'm in, my clients lose their cases. There's just the odds are stacked against them. It's their word versus a psychiatrist's word, and the courts tend to side with the psychiatrists. And so my clients tend to lose. But every now and then there's technicalities, there's insufficient records, there's insufficient evidence to do what the psychiatrist is asking to do, and then my client will be able to go free or be able to manage their own whatever it is they need to manage. Those feel good on a personal level because I won. Sometimes I think about the implications overall, but it's not my job to care about that. My job is to protect my clients' rights and to fight for those rights and to keep everyone being honest about their duties and forms and things that they need to do.
I kind of think like I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, I could never be like a criminal lawyer because I couldn't defend a criminal." And I'm like, I could definitely do that. Like if you
Yep.
believe in the system, you can,
Yep.
but a lot of people don't.
A lot of people don't. Yeah. That's a huge question I get asked a lot by male comedians. How do
Male
you do it?
comedians unanimously do not believe in any system.
No, they're like, how do you do that? I'm like, it's your job, you know? You got to be a little certain type of person to be able to do it, I think. A lot of people get caught up in it and they get emotional about it, or it just affects them in a different way. It just doesn't seem to affect me that much.
Do you think you have like more emotional detachment or more faith?
Probably bit of this, bit of that. Yeah. Yeah, it's your job, right? You can't keep your head in it all the time.
Yeah.
Like my brother's a doctor, and his job is juggling people's lives all the time. And I remember him telling me early on in his career he had a lot of trouble with, people were falling off on his watch or whatever. And now I don't think it bothers him as much because you just get used to stuff, right? Like you understand you can't do everything for everyone. You can't save everyone. You just have to play a role, and that's what you do.
Yeah. What kind of doctor is he?
He's an emergency doctor.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
like one of the bigger stressful.
Yeah, I think actually he was for a while working in rural emergency medicine, and now he's a hospitalist, which is kind of like a family doctor that works at the hospital that deals with acute emergencies as well as long-term patient care and stuff like that. He does a bit. He's done a lot in his
Yeah.
medical career.
So is it just the two of you guys in the family?
Hmm.
Okay. Was this like a, and what's the age difference?
2.5 years.
Was this like a really like ambitious family? Like you guys, your parents were like, you guys are going to be winners.
Yeah, they pushed that a lot, but they didn't tell us how to do it. It's kind of like you should do something, and you should figure it out. I mean, my dad's a doctor, so
What kind of doctor is he?
he was an allergist, and he practiced in that for a while, and then he moved into business, and he worked in that too.
What did he do in business?
He basically did clinical research,
Oh, okay.
that type of stuff. Yeah. Um,
Does your mom work?
yeah, she worked with him, and she's a trained optician too.
Eye doctor.
I something. Yeah.
Okay.
She hasn't done that in a long time, but yeah.
So like you were the oddball that you didn't go into anything medical?
Yeah. And most of my family is doctors, pharmacists, or nurses.
So are you like kind of like the peasant of just like, oh, there's Shanil
Yeah.
like with his paperwork. It's really cute.
Trying to figure out how to open up the weed drink. Yeah.
Is your wife really ambitious?
Yeah. So she's always been very ambitious. She went to U of T for law school, which is a better law school than the one I went to.
Where'd you go?
Queens. Queens is very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Um,
but within law, people know what
people
the best.
know. Yeah.
Like even when people talk of U of T, they'll say Osgood Hall, right? Like, is that the
Osgood
one?
is Osgood is now York,
Oh,
which is also another really good school.
okay.
But U of T is its own.
I guess because it's right downtown, I just assumed it was
Yeah.
U of T.
Yeah, it's confusing because Osgood is also the name of one of the courthouses too, right?
Oh,
And so it's all just
nobody understands.
no one gets it now.
Okay, so she goes to like the top law school.
Yep.
He went to the inferior one.
I went to the inferior one.
Did she do your homework for you?
No, we were in very different streams. So she was in, she had her own interests in law school. I had mine, and then we ended up doing fairly different things. I'm in the court a lot. She's behind a desk looking at paper a lot.
It's funny that like is your like it kind of sounds like your job is interesting though.
Yeah,
Like
there's some.
day to day, there's a bit of adrenaline. Like
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff that happens. It's quick paced. It there's some stories for sure.
that you can't tell.
I cannot
because
tell
of
because
attorney-client privilege.
attorney-client privilege.
And like with that kind of work, you probably feel a level of like, I don't want to embarrass these people.
Yeah, and some of the stories are so specific that if my clients were to ever listen, they would know it was. Yeah, I couldn't. Yeah, it would be too specific. But
So when you do your comedy, you just get to talk about yourself,
yeah, just talk about
just being a shitty husband.
that type of stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Are you kind of spoiled like within the marriage?
For sure, she is too in certain ways. But I yes, it's definitely me that is the burden.
Are you guys competitive with each other or just
In some senses, like with work, we work together in the same practice. So her victories
Oh,
are my
okay.
victories, etc. Um, with like fitness and stuff like that, we're a little competitive sometimes. But she has her own way of working out. I have my own way of working out.
But okay, so you guys went to high school together, and then you went to this, both went into law,
Yep.
and then you live together and you work out together.
No, we don't work out
No.
together.
Do you
No.
work out at the same place?
No.
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 But you both work out a lot?
Yeah.
So it's like very similar lives.
Very similar. Yeah. When you're that together for that long, I think things just kind of intertwine a bit,
Yeah.
and then you end up having the same mind.
What percentage of your life have you been with her?
Um, it'll be 14 years. I'm 30, almost 50.
Amazing.
I know, right? Crazy.
Do you guys have the same vibe?
No, no.
No.
It's starting to become more similar uh, as time goes on. She's turned me more into her. I've turned her more into me.
In what ways do you think you've turned her into you, and do you regret it?
Uh, she's got a good sense of humor,
And
and
you're gonna take credit for that?
she was so dull before. No. She's fun. She's a lot of fun. Um, she's made me slightly more organized and slightly more ambitious, I would say, and that all came from her. So if I wasn't with her for the last 14, I don't think I would have been a lawyer. I don't think I would have done a lot of those things.
I have suspected that about a lot of men I know who went to law school.
Yeah,
Like it's rare. It's I don't know. Maybe this is just my thinking, but it's like you have to be sort of pretty organized at a young age. And I'm like, where would you get that from? Not just the organization, maybe like the motivation.
yeah. Like, I mean, for me, I was never a great student. I wasn't gifted, so I had to work really hard in school and just put in hours and hours and hours to get decent grades. And I did that throughout. And then as I moved from school to school and then went to law school, I became more of an average student each time.
Yeah.
Um, but I had to work really hard in that sense. But I wasn't organized. I didn't have great looking notes. Um, Things like that weren't natural to me. Whereas my wife, she's just completely organized, very, very well thought out structure for everything. And so she kind of gave me a little bit of that, and she helped me figure out how to figure some of that stuff out.
Yeah.
But for me, it's always just been bang your head against the textbook until some of it gets
Yeah.
in your head.
I remember having a friend in high school who like organized my geography binder for me, and it had never occurred to me to like put things into sections. And I was just like, yeah, it was the first time I ever thought like that school was more than just like sort of like getting it or not getting it. I'm like, oh, there's fucking process involved.
Yeah, yeah, you gotta like the organized people do a lot better. Yeah, they just do.
So she makes you get out of bed in the morning, like on a Saturday?
She encourages it. She'll put that coffee beside me. She'll do this. So she'll wake up, she'll feed the dog, and then she'll open the door to the bedroom, and the dog will come and jump on the bed. And then she's always hoping the dog's gonna wake me up too and get really excited, but she'll just come and cuddle next to me. The two of us are just sitting and lazing around in the mornings.
And then, like, do you guys typically hang out together on a Saturday?
Yeah, we spend every day together, right? So we work together. We'll spend all day together, except for the hours she's awake in the morning and I'm not, and the hours I'm awake at night and she's not. We'll walk the dog every day. We'll talk work. We'll sit around and work next to each other. And then a couple nights a week we'll hang out too.
Do you guys fight?
No, yeah. Explosive. No. We throw shit. Yeah, we fight, sure. Most of it is, I think, the difference in she's a morning person and I'm an asshole. I'm a night person. That creates some difficulties between us. But I mean, nothing we don't figure out within an hour for the most part.
I feel like that's really cool. I
Yeah,
feel like that's kind of what people want, but surprisingly, like very few people pull that off.
It's tough to find. I don't understand how anyone else finds it. It's I was so lucky. Like holy shit. Um, yeah, like it's tough to I guess date. I don't know. I've never experienced that, right?
Because you never had,
I never really
because you were
dated.
in the 10th grade
Yeah, I was in grade 10, she was in grade 11. So neither of us really dated.
and this older girl is just like, you're the one.
This older white lady was just like, I could adopt you, but I want to date you instead. I'm like, okay. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
So where do you think you would be if she hadn't picked you?
Uh, Probably, you seen those tents at the parks? I'd probably be there, heroin needle, pit bull.
I like the pit bull. That's a good detail.
Yeah, that's
You
I
can't be
romanticize it.
you can't be homeless without a dog.
You need a dog to be homeless. It's part of the appeal of no home. But yeah, I don't know. I have no idea where I'd be. I'd be okay. I'd figure it out.
When did you get into stand up?
I first started when I was at my undergrad in Montreal in 2015, and then I did it for a year, and then I stopped for 6 years.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So did you do it with other students?
Nope. It was just
You just like went out in Montreal and
in
found
the
a
city.
club?
Yeah, at the Comedy Nest in Montreal, which is in a strip mall, was the first one I went to.
Ooh,
Yeah,
I like it.
yeah, it was fun. And then I stopped to become a lawyer, and then when that started getting a little stale, I went back into comedy.
So was it like you were just like, oh, I'm gonna be serious. I'm gonna get an adult job.
Yeah, I felt like whenever I was getting out of comedy, I would get out of law eventually, and I would get the same highs and everything.
Oh,
And then you go through that whole process. You get in law school, you go through your articling year, and then you start becoming a lawyer. And then at some point, you're like, oh fuck, this is not at all gonna scratch that itch.
because you thought like being in a courtroom would be
Would
like
do
this
it, yeah.
performance.
Yeah,
Do you think if you were doing criminal law, it would?
I've flirted with the idea of doing criminal law a number of times, and I've spoken with so many people that do it. Probably closer to
Yeah,
the same thrill, but the cost is immense in terms of preparation and lifestyle trade-offs and everything.
yeah,
And I wouldn't want to trade off what I have now.
yeah.
Yeah,
There's so much ugliness in that too.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's cleaner than some other areas of law, like family law.
Is that the worst one?
Yeah, notoriously the worst.
Do you have friends in it?
I have a bunch of friends that were in it.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and then they don't stick it out for long.
Where do they go from there?
Usually into personal injury or sometimes my area or wills and estates, things like that,
Yeah.
or real estate.
Have you met someone who likes family law?
There's a few sickos out there. Yeah, there's a lot of money in it. Like if you can stick it out, people getting divorced are willing to throw a lot of money at divorce and being
And
petty.
is the lawyer making it worse?
I mean, they should be trying to resolve it, right? That's their goal, but they should also be doing whatever their client tells them to do. And so if their client's like, I really want this piece of china, and the lawyer's like, that's going to cost you $500,000 for me to do that. And you're like, I really don't want him to have this piece of china.
Shit.
They'll pay it and they're still doing their job, right?
What's the thing where you get a divorce, but it's like a mediated something?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's not my area. But I'm sure that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Sure.
have friends who've gotten divorced, so I'm like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to work out, like just in terms of even if you have it negotiated, there's still a lot to negotiate. It's your whole life you got to divvy up, right?
Yeah.
And then if there's like a pet or a kid involved too, then it becomes really
Yeah.
personal for people, and they'll do a lot to make sure that they get what they want too, right?
Yeah. I feel like people who can't handle a divorce well, it's like such a fun, you won't be able to handle any part of your life well. Because it's like you have to like put I don't know.
Yeah, I guess so, right? I don't know. I hope I don't end up there.
Do you worry that you will?
Sure, it's somewhere in the back of my head, but
Not
I just
your
can't
major concern.
see it happening right now. Maybe that's hubris, but
Do you think you're a confident person?
in some senses, yeah. But in others, no.
What senses no?
I think I'm socially fairly shy,
Yeah.
and I've always been that way. Um,
And then you were like, I should do stand-up comedy.
yeah, yeah. I was like, yeah, I should try it. Um, Socially shy. I don't have any strong opinions about anything. I just don't have any confidence in
What?
politics or stuff like that.
What?
I just don't. I don't. That's one of my shynesses. I just don't have any.
It's funny because you seem opinionated.
All right.
But no.
No, not really. I don't really form opinions about stuff.
What?
Yeah.
Are you a Libra?
No, I think I'm an Aries.
Why do you think? Explain the knot. That's the craziest thing.
Any subject.
I automatically have an opinion on everything.
Any subject you can sway me pretty easily. Like
Yeah?
sports, for example. Like I watch basketball a lot, and then I was talking with some of my friends yesterday while we were watching the game. I'm like, I think Boston's gonna win, and they're like, well, I think Denver's gonna win, and I'm like, you might be right. You might have a point. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, so I saw Michelle Wolf in an interview, like, the comedian.
Yeah.
And she said that, so she was like in business. And she said that she started doing improv and then got into comedy. And she said that before that, she didn't really have a lot of opinions on anything. And that doing improv and comedy helped her develop opinions on things because she, just like in a scene, she had to like take a stance.
Mm-hmm.
And she was saying like almost like she didn't have a personality before that. And I was like, this is very hard for me to understand.
It's nice not having opinions. You just you don't care about much in life, you know? You just
What?
you can appreciate things from a neutral perspective.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Should I try to get that?
I recommend it. Yeah.
Is your wife opinionated?
She's not strongly opinionated on stuff either. No.
Do you have any close friends who are?
Oh, yeah, I I have a lot of close friends in comedy that are very opinionated.
Do you think you have a better life? Not
maybe
the things in your life, but just day to day, you're happier than them.
I don't know. I couldn't answer that.
Because you don't have an opinion on it.
I just don't. Yeah, I don't care about stuff.
What?
And I could be wrong about not having an opinion on everything, but for most things that people seem to get worked up about, I just don't know where I fall on them. Or if I fall on them in a certain way, I know for an obvious reason why. Like, I don't know, like the Ukrainian-Russian war. My wife's Ukrainian, so go Ukraine. But if my wife was Russian, then go Russia. You know, I'm not really sure what's going on there or why.
Is she?
Yeah, she's more well read into it than
Okay.
I am, for sure.
But is that like a desire to not know politics?
I don't know where.
Like it connects to other things too.
Yeah, it's just I'm very easily swayed.
Like so like if your friend was like, I'm gonna open a business, you wouldn't be like strongly for or against that. You'd be like, yeah, you could do that or you could not do that.
Yeah. Like it depends on the type of business. If he wants to open like a baby killing business, I wouldn't be strongly opposed to. Or I would be strongly opposed to it, but you can maybe sway me.
Okay, so another thing I think is like when I think of somebody who doesn't have opinions, I usually think of someone who's like non-confrontational. So I guess I think they have them, but they won't say it. But I feel like I've been out with you when like someone's acting weird and you'll point that out. Like you're not afraid to like make fun of someone or express an opposing view.
Yeah, but I think I'm just playing devil's advocate sometimes, I don't think I don't know. See, I don't even know where I stand in this conversation. You're swaying me into thinking I'm not opinionated, or I am opinionated. I'm like, you know what? Maybe you're right, Karen.
This is insane.
Hmm.
Have you done improv?
No.
Any desire to?
I don't think it's my thing.
No.
I don't crowd work much. I just don't enjoy it, and I don't like talking to the crowd. I hear you have to be like interested in the crowd to make it work, and I'm not interested in them as so much.
I guess I've never done improv in front of a crowd, but I've just
Yeah,
done improv classes.
yeah. I hear they're helpful for stand up, and I can see that work.
Yeah.
But it's I think with my act, I just like writing my jokes, being prepared, and
And a lot
telling
of
it.
yours is like stories about your life.
Yep,
In fact, almost all. Like,
just about everything. Yeah,
it's not like observation. It's very you
yeah. There's
making
a
fun of yourself.
yeah. I would say that's the majority of it. Yeah.
So were you always someone who would like tell a funny story? No.
No, no.
What made you think you could do stand up?
Uh, I think I got into it originally just because I was just trying to meet people like me, or trying to meet people that were interested in doing something other than just studying all day. And then eventually I became okay at it.
But why did you think they'd be in comedy?
Well, they weren't in school, and it's something you try out, right? Like, I was listening to a lot of podcasts of comedians on it. I'm like, okay, maybe I'll identify with people like this,
Yeah.
or at least be able to have a laugh with people like that.
Who were the comedians you were most into?
Uh, Back then, Louis C.K., Bill Burr, um, and now I really like Joe List.
I don't know
And
Joe List.
you should check him out. He's really funny. He's got a bunch of specials on YouTube. Um, and Shane Gillis is really funny. I think he's really funny too.
Yeah. His I was late to him, and I think it was just like 2 months ago that I watched his special because like everyone was talking about him, and I really liked it.
It's really funny, yeah. And Maria Bamford is funny too.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's amazing. She was another one that I slept on, and then my friend said that he liked her because she had the best explanation of like a person going crazy.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And I also think she just is great at everything. Like her comments on just like very small, not important things in life are flawless.
Yeah. Yeah, she's really well prepared, and you can see that she's been doing it for a long time when you watch her.
Yeah. Like she's got to be I don't know. I don't want to guess how long she's been doing
Multiple
it.
decades,
But
I'd
yeah.
assume.
Okay. So you were just watching a lot of comedy and then you thought it would be like a social thing you'd find
Yeah. I still do. I still look at it as a social thing.
because you're not looking to leave your
Toronto.
overall life.
No. No. I like my life. I mean, I'll
I like your life. It sounds really good.
yeah, it's pretty sick. I mean,
A lot of people in comedy are a little bit on the other end of the spectrum
yeah.
where you're just like, are you guys okay? Like,
Yeah. Um, I will, like, my philosophy about it is I will walk through doors that open for me in comedy, but I'm not gonna try to push them too hard.
yeah,
So, like, if a club wants me on their Friday show, or they want to sign me, and it's not going to interfere too much with my life, sure, I'll do it. But I'm not going to. I don't see myself touring a lot, which is kind of the grit work you need to put in order to become
yeah,
a great comedian. I like my routine too. I like my morning coffee. I like
yeah.
doing the stuff I do every day.
And I think like it's okay to have like a hobby or an art form that isn't your job. Like not everything has to be like the biggest thing in your life.
No, exactly, right? I think a lot of comics look at it that way,
Yeah.
that it should be. Some people feel like the stage should be for people that want to do it and want to make it.
Oh, like you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
E.
And I kind of look at it as like it's like a public tennis court, you know? Not everyone who uses it is going to be in Wimbledon.
Yeah. And there's a weird thing where like I've thought about this with sports, like athleticism in like our culture where it's like I don't know, like people want to be a pro athlete when they're a kid, and then if they don't, some people just stop exercising. And
Yeah.
it's like there should be an in between, right?
Yeah.
Like everyone should probably have some physical activity and maybe something creative that you do. You don't have to be good at everything, but you should be doing some stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Don't just give up completely, right?
And I kind of like that the comedy scene has like different genres of comedian, like hobby people and some people are just a homeless guy.
Yeah. There's at least three of them, right? There's three legitimately unhoused people in comedy.
And that's their community.
Yeah.
They're bringing a perspective to the rest of us
Yep.
that like I didn't have a lot of homeless friends before I got here.
Yeah. They walk in a club. They're like, "This is home." I'm like, "Oh, like no. This is literally where I sleep." I'm like, okay. No, you get all types. It's fun. I was yesterday. I was hanging out with Andrew Basso. Shout out to I know he does some work for you.
He's my editor.
Yeah. And he did really well yesterday on stage, and I've always reflected on this with him. Him and I have no, like, he's described it as the Venn diagram of Andrew and Shanil are just two circles. Like, we have nothing in common whatsoever. And we can hang out when there's other people around, but occasionally people will leave, and it's just me and him sitting there. And he's just, he's nervous energy, he's twiddling his thumbs. He's like, all right, so, and he starts talking about something random, like, I don't know how to be at your speed. I really appreciate you, and I really appreciate that I get to interact with someone like you. But boy, oh boy, I would have never have done so unless it was for comedy.
That's amazing. I want to hang out with the two of you at once. Andrew was my very first guest on this show.
Right.
Partly because when he was at TMU, he had a radio show and he'd had me as a guest on that. And so I knew he knew like base level audio visual stuff and then that he could talk for an hour.
Yeah, he can talk forever. He's brilliant.
Well, I got like amazing clips out of it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, should I just keep having Andrew on?
Yeah, honestly, he would be a great repeat guest for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely
endless.
Yeah.
He's an endless person.
It's weird that he doesn't have a podcast.
Yeah, that is kind of strange, huh?
You should get on him.
Yeah, Andrew, make a podcast.
To-do list, Andrew.
Yeah.
Do you ever think about all the people who want to do their own version of Kill Tony?
Yeah, there's a few different ones. And there's been a couple that have cycled in and out of Toronto. The Casting Couch.
Yeah.
Was one of my favorites. And now there's another one, I think.
Consent Couch is right about to start.
Yeah.
What do you think is the secret ingredient to the live podcast?
Is it a podcast, The Consent Couch?
Well, I don't know that it's a podcast, really. I guess a lot of people are doing like a live show that has like the Kill Tony vibe.
I don't listen to the Kill Tony podcast. I'll go through clips of it every now and then. But I think people like the excitement that this person that you're seeing, this amateur person, whatever, could kill here, and then they could end up with a career out of it. I think that's kind of the excitement. It's like American Idol.
Yeah.
And this person could be world famous just through this platform that everyone's following their journey on.
Yeah. I think there's a dynamic too, like when you see someone perform stand up, but then you also see them talk to like the hosts afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's interesting because when you see someone do stand up, you don't really know like are they this funny all the time or like what else? And then it's like almost like a you version of them that's just can like chat them up a bit.
Yeah. I think it's helpful for comics too that go on. Like Backroom does that with their Monday show, and they have the comic do 90 seconds, and then you've been on the show before.
Yeah.
90 seconds, and then the owners will give some feedback, and then I find it's helpful to watch and to go through that experience too. and just see the difference between immediately talking to someone on stage and trying to make that performative
Yeah.
and be yourself versus what you're doing as your stand up.
Yeah. I think there's something to like a lot of people do comedy, but they're never interviewed. So like
Mm-hmm.
I've had people here where this is like the first time they're interviewed, but I think being interviewed live is like a totally different skill.
Oh yeah, this is
Like this
very
feels
different.
pretty comfortable, but like when I do backroom, like that's a pretty big, like it's scarier than typical stand up.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Because they're also just Ariel and Brandon just watching you from the side. Every now and then you're like looking over, you're doing your joke, and then you're making eye contact with different people. You look over and they're like right fucking there, and you're like, oh Jesus Christ.
What's feedback you've gotten from them?
Uh, they always tell pretty much everyone to be more yourself and authentic, which I think is great advice. Slow down, I think they told me once or twice. It's also really good advice I've gotten from them. And they honestly they have a really good sense of how old a joke is based on how you're telling it. So every single time I brought a new joke there, Ariel especially has been able to be like, that's a new joke, isn't it? I'm like, God damn it, he caught it again.
Yeah.
But they have a good sense of that. It comes from, I guess, time doing it.
Yeah. And then one of the criticisms, not really a criticism, one of the things they'll say is just like, you just have to put in a lot of time, and that shows.
I agree with that too.
And you can see them kind of guess with other people on stage, like they know kind of how new you are.
Yeah.
How far you're like, how many years and how many sets into it are you?
Years is difficult to gauge because of the time I took off. I think it's about 3 total. Sets 463.
I love that you have
Yeah.
463 over 3 years.
3 years over the space of 10 years, yeah.
So that's more than 100 a year.
Yeah. Initially, it was a slower clip, and then in the last 2 years, it's gone up steadily.
Do you feel okay when you came back to it? Did you have to like build it up again?
In what sense?
Like, did you come back to it at the same spot you were when you left?
No, I had to bomb for a while again, and then I had to write new jokes completely. So all the old jokes I used to tell are abandoned. Even though I liked some of them, they don't feel right anymore.
Yeah.
And then I had to find a new rhythm because I don't think I fully found it before. I did 80 sets before, and I was getting pretty comfortable on stage, but I kind of left it right at a critical juncture where I could have pushed it further and really found my step. And so I had to refine my footing, and then I had to do the actual work to find what type of comic and what type of delivery I want to do and what feels natural to me. And then it started feeling right pretty recently, like in the 400s range. It started feeling consistent and right.
That's interesting. I'm trying to think too, because there's a 6 year difference between, so, and you finished law school and a bunch of like,
Yeah, went through war
and like,
became shell shocked and then came back out.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there's just like personal growth. You're like a different person. You're an older, more mature person.
Yeah.
So then, and you didn't have a firm voice yet, and now you're a new.
I think I'm starting to develop a voice now. It takes a long time. It takes any comical. Well, some people are just they have it. Like Dushan just has it. I think even Andrew really just has it in a way.
Yeah.
He's got it, the personal struggles of that guy. He's like 22 years old, and he's like an alien that was dropped in and just is observing life, or he's on his like 50th life.
He is like much older than everyone, and then newer as a human. Also.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It's what an experience. But I think Andrew's got a pretty figured out voice, which is extremely impressive. For me, it took me a long time to figure out my delivery. And now when I'm writing jokes, I can see the pattern of what I like to do. And it makes it easier. It's like already having a set pattern.
Yeah. There's a whole thing too where it's like, in like personality assessment, it's like you can't do so much personality assessment before a certain age because you don't have your full personality yet.
Hmm.
So it's like trying to find a comedic voice really young, but then your voice, like you literally are a different person.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. Like comics that are older that get into this, I think they find their footing faster. They just tend to.
Yeah.
And I think if you start young in some ways, um, you kind of stunt yourself a little bit, and then you end up being a young. It takes more work to keep growing with your age and mature in your craft too.
Yeah.
But I mean, you get more of the technical stuff down at a younger age.
Yeah. And there's certain opportunities that are just there when you're young and won't be there when you're older.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I definitely take it if like, if you can get that young. But yeah,
Yep.
it's definitely its own set of.
Yeah, I think it comes with a bit more turmoil to grow with this and be young through comedy.
And like any kind of attention, like even like if you get away from fame, but just like okay, so I'm talking about myself on stage, so there's a certain level of discomfort around like people I'm friends with or people I work with hearing these stories that are personal, and maybe like telling them to strangers is funny, but at some point it gets back to your life. And I feel like I'm in my 40s, so there's just a certain level that I can be like, well, that's who I am. Whereas like I feel like for a younger person to like to sort of like be who they are with like everyone they know is like a much more intense experience.
Yeah, they have to figure. Yeah, like I don't understand how I would do it at a younger age. I mean, I tried and I didn't know what I was doing. Right? Yeah, you're right. It takes some just maturity to figure out where you stand with people and what you are.
And I think when you're younger, there's like more of a sense of like you could lose something that when you're older, you're like, I can't lose that.
Like what?
Like, I don't know. Like your reputation is less like it could be anything. Like you
Hmm.
kind of know it's always going to be pretty closely attached to yourself.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess you live longer and you just see life isn't that important anyways. Whatever. Let's just fucking do it. Yeah, I
Kind
get
of a
that.
little bit.
Yeah. When you're young, you're like, life is so, well, it could be anything. Nah, it's whatever. Just try it.
Did your wife ever talk to you about her doing stand up?
No, she would never.
No,
No, she wouldn't.
she wouldn't.
She wouldn't. She, recently she started doing some stuff in fashion. So she's doing some styling and some modeling and stuff. And that's kind of been her creative outlet, which I'm really glad she's found.
Yeah,
'Cause it's something that's like really filled her with life and given her a lot of joy.
that's amazing.
Um, but yeah, like she's trying. She found the thing I found with stand up. And
Yeah,
it's kind of great that we both have it now.
that's very cool.
Yeah, but she wouldn't do stand up.
She's not as much of like a verbal
No, she just doesn't.
or comedy.
I don't think she. The idea of it terrifies her.
Yeah, the performing.
Yeah.
I was surprised how many of my friends I found out don't like public speaking.
Yeah, it's crazy, huh? Like there are people that like don't want to give a speech at a wedding, even if they can just read it from their
Yeah,
thing. Or there's a lot of people who just don't even want to give a toast.
but you love it.
I don't love giving speeches at weddings or toasts.
Have you given?
I've done it a few times, but it's not my favorite way of because there's politics to that too, right?
Yeah.
Um, I like stand up. That's my and courtroom stuff. Those are my two things.
Do you like sentimentality?
As in,
Like, would you want to give like a moving speech where people cried?
I would like to think I would like to, but I, I think it's something about doing comedy kind of makes you always think of the joke, and then you just can't. For me, I just can't be serious, and also law and legal writing always makes you think of the argument,
Yeah.
and so I can't be sentimentality is harder for me to come by. I think most people who know me would agree with that, especially my wife. I showed her a really sad video yesterday by accident. I was just scrolling through Instagram, and there's this really sad video of it's gonna sound horrible. It was this kid who was like crying, and he just graduated. He was putting flowers on his mom's grave, and it was really sad. Watching the video, and I just is scrolling. She's sitting next to me, and we're both scrolling together with the dog, and then its video pops up. It starts playing, and I'm watching. And I'm about to move to the next one. I just hear a sniffle, and then I turn over, and she's just completely crying, and I couldn't help but just laugh really hard. It's so funny how fast it happened. I'm like, that ruined your whole day, didn't it? You have to go through like 18 cat videos to make it somewhat normal, but it was so funny.
Yeah. But that's like such a telling, like, how close her real emotions are to her.
Yeah.
Like...
she was so upset at me. Oh, God. I was watching a movie with her recently. I don't want to spoil the movie, but the guy dies in the end. It's a documentary, right?
Okay.
And I watched the movie when she wasn't around, and then I watched it, like I said, we should watch this documentary. I knew he was going to die in the end, right? And so I watched it with her, and the whole time she's like, oh my God, this is so amazing. He's doing all these amazing things, and I know what happens in the end. And then at the end, he dies. And she looks over at me like, what the fuck were you thinking? I got so attached to it emotionally. I'm like, it's just really funny just because I know what's happening.
Fuck. Okay, so one of my sisters is really sentimental, and I feel like I am like close to my emotions. Like I can get sad, like watching a movie, that kind of thing. But it's like I always see like two sides to everything, but she'll kind of see one side to something. So like we both read the Twilight books and really, really liked them.
Mm-hmm.
But I also thought they were really, really stupid.
Mm-hmm.
So I loved them, but I also made fun of them, but she just liked them. And I couldn't make fun of them to her because it would like ruin it for her. And then I find this like with a lot of things we love together, that like she loves them just directly and authentically, and I love them like on two sides. And it's like, it's a challenge to our friendship that I don't like ruin shit for her.
Yeah.
Do you think you're like two-sided and she's one-sided?
Yeah, I think it's kind of similar. Yeah, I think it's funny when she cries at movies. I really find it so funny, and just like little videos that are sad, because it happens so quickly, and I just don't know. I don't experience that, and I look over and she's just completely just lost. I'm like, it's a movie. You don't know these people. It's ridiculous.
Do you think though when something like happens that's real, like are you less connected to your emotions?
Yeah, for sure.
Do you ever have something where like you have a feeling about it but you don't know what the feeling is?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. And then I just don't chase it. I just don't know how to. I don't bother following it. I just kind of leave it.
You're just comfortable to not really know.
I'm very happy in my. I don't want anything disturbing what I'm going through right now. It's a very good vibe.
Do you have a tattoo of Bugs Bunny?
Yeah, it's a new one. I got it. You can still
oh my god, that's really well done.
Bit. Thank you.
So it's like is it showing on the camera? It's Bugs.
He's sad. He's got a bunch of hearts around him.
Raining down on him.
The original design, it's one of the artists' flash tattoo. It said lover underneath it. And like, take out the lover. Let's just have him sad.
You just wanted a sad clown kind of a
Bugs?
Yeah,
I like the idea of Bugs Bunny looking a little fractured or shook by something. Because he's always so like confident and kind of smug about things. I like the image of that. My original idea was to have him in an eye patch and like have like less of a smug look on his face.
Oh.
But it's like, yeah, there's consequences, Bugs, to the shit that you do. But I changed it to this at the last second.
I like it. What's your other?
It's a rose with a thorn or with barbed wire on it. I got a beetle here.
What?
I've got an elephant here. And I've got a building in Montreal here.
What's the building?
It's the Farine Five Roses building. It's like this iconic uh, flour mill building with big red neon lights on it. And I always see it on my way into Montreal from Via Rail, and it's kind of burned into my memory.
Because you lived there for your undergrad.
I lived there, great memories there, and yeah.
And then the Beetle?
The Beetle. So when I was a kid, my parents they took us on a lot of these trips when we were kids. Some of them were ill-advised because we were too young to appreciate them. Some of them were like India, where they had to take us. But it's one of my first memories. I was like 4 years old. My parents took me to Bali,
Oh, fuck.
right? And it might have been somewhere in Indonesia, but somewhere in those islands. And they took us to a jungle getaway to see orangutans. I was 4, okay? We didn't do interesting trips much after this. And then we were in the jungle and we're eating outside, and there's just a bunch of flies everywhere. Right? I was getting really annoyed by it because there's like jungle insects coming at you, and I was 4. I didn't know how to deal with it. I've always eaten inside, and I was getting really upset. And then at some point, this big Indonesian beetle, this great horned beetle. It could hover. That's how big it was. It was just flying right in front of my face, and I screamed. And the people that were the tribes people that were working there, they thought that they were being attacked by another tribe. And so they got really upset, and then they had to send me to my room, and I just remember being shook by it for a while. And I always have that image of that beetle in my head. And then I found a design that really looks like that, and I'm like, yeah, put it on my knee.
Because you wanted to upset yourself regularly?
It's just like a reminder of that, I guess. I honestly, Karen, I like the way it looked, and I made that whole story up. Just
The elephant. Is that an Indian thing?
No, it's from a Dali painting.
Ooh.
It's the long-legged elephants in one of his paintings. I got that one. That was my first tattoo. I got that in 2018. And I really liked the look of it, and I wanted it on my leg.
Is it like surreal?
Yeah, it's surreal. Yeah.
And do you like surrealism in general?
Yeah, I kind of fell out of love with it for a while, and yeah.
So that's your longest one, but you would have had it for like more than 10 years now?
No, 2018. So.
Oh, 2018.
6 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you went out with it, but now you're back in.
I'm not as into it as I used to be. Yeah. Okay. Now I like beetles, flour mill buildings, and.
I really like the bugs. I think that's like my favorite.
Thank you. Yeah. My mom hates it. She saw it the other day. She's like, "Why the fuck would you put it on? What are you, stupid?"
Does she like your tattoos in general?
She has her favorites.
She likes the
she actually wants to get one like this up here for herself.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, but then she hates some of the other ones.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I told her I want to get a neck tattoo. I really like the look of that. And I want to get hand tattoos and all that.
I really like neck and hand tattoos, and I know they're seen as more extreme.
Yeah.
But I just think literally like aesthetically, like if you divorce the sort of like toughness or whatever of tattoos, they're just like aesthetically beautiful places to have tattoos.
Yeah, they are really sexy looking tattoos you can get, right?
And the meaning to tattoo something on one's hand is also very powerful.
Yeah, it's like, I don't give a shit.
But... And like neck tattoo is very like gang in a way, but it's also like I see women with neck tattoos where it's just so like elegant. Like it. Yeah. There's a lot of ways you can go with tattooing that isn't.
Yeah. I mean, like Justin Bieber has a neck tattoo, right? So like, I mean, how thug could it be? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's got a different meaning than it used to, and I just like the look of it.
But will your mom get mad?
I'm slowly talking her into the idea of it. I'm like, I'm gonna get one, and I'm like, you know, with everything that I do with my parents, I bluff at first. I'm like, I want to get the whole throat done. I want to get the back of the neck done. Everything's gonna be done, and then she's like, she'll be happy if something like that doesn't happen.
Okay, so it's managing their expectations.
You always bluff, Karen. You bluff. I bluffed for years. So my wife's white, and I anticipated that would be a bit of an issue with my family, And so for years, I pretended I was gay so that it wouldn't be a big issue. They're like, oh, thank God, he's just with a white woman.
Oh my God. You're a poor mother.
Yeah.
I'm gonna end it on that.
Yeah.
But I want to meet her.
Yeah.
So actually, before we go, where can we find you on socials?
I'm on Instagram at the Shans with 3 Z's.
The Shans with three
Z's, yeah.
3 Z's.
3 Z's.
Amazing. Thanks a lot for being on, Shanil.
Thanks a lot for having me, Karen. I really appreciate it.